This is Due by Friday, a weekly challenge podcast by Merlin Mann, Alex Cox, and Max Temkin. This week's challenge, watch the film adaptation of Les Mis. Merlin's on time!
Oh my God, you guys, I'm so sorry. I got here as quick as I could. I apologize.
I'm back. I burnt out very hard on politics working on the Clinton campaign, and I was like, I need to take a break and not take on any new projects and get out of politics for a little bit and like regain some worldview and like, you know, attend to my company and do all of the responsible life things, you know, like figure out how to program my to-do app to like remind me to like change the air filters in my HVAC system, which is like one of the long-standing problems in my life. And instead of doing that, I jumped immediately back into politics, and I'm so tired.
God.
I've been pulling like all-nighters, like working on this stuff that I can't talk about, and I'm so stressed out and tired. Why do I do this? I don't know. I have to because I can't not do it.
Yeah, That's why you hire people like me to stay up and stress about the studio all night, and then you can stress out about other things that are more important.
Yeah, I'm not. The studio redesign. Alex and I are doing a little studio redesign project. I mean, you know, I feel like listen. You know, my big goal is I just want to beat The Daily Shoah in terms of being America's #1 anti-Semitism podcast.
Yeah, amen.
And I think we're clearly America's #2 anti-Semitism podcast.
I think we're. I've never listened to it, but I assume that we're a better Shoah. I assume we're a better show. I think we're definitely. I have to assume that we're more anti-Semitic. More creative with it anyway.
That goes without saying. I mean, that's obvious. That's obvious. I think we all agree on that. But I just want, you know, it's all about those metrics, and I just want to beat them. And to me, if we just spend $50,000 on new recording equipment, we will get to where we need to go. Because as everyone knows, what drives the podcast audience is how expensive of a microphone you're using. That's why people ask me, everywhere I go, they say, Max, how do you make such a successful, enjoyable podcast to listen to? And I say, well, buddy, let's start with your DAC. What kind of DAC are you using? You got powered
A lot
headphones?
of people don't even know about the DAC, Max, and they got the wrong kind of windscreen. They're still using analog cabling. Sometimes they're recording on very small screens. There's all kinds of things that they're not putting the quality. They're not putting the time into it. And people care about this. They sweat this. They want people to read essays over a music bed, and that's going to take at least $50,000.
I mean, obviously, when you're thinking about starting a podcast, the first choice is you record in Logic or Pro Tools, and that's going to guide a lot of what I like to call the stack.
The stack and the DAC. I think you do it. I think you do it like Alex said. I think you do it because you have to do it. It's for some people, it's a passing anger fancy, but for you, I think you feel something deeply here where it's difficult for you not to do it, and I think that's. It's probably problematic in a lot of ways in your life, but like that's who you are. And if you embrace that in a way that doesn't make you crazy, you'll grow.
You know, if it's the other thing is, you know, working in politics, it's very romantic in the sense that you can. It's the rare thing in life that you can fully give yourself up to, and as much as sort of you're able. And I have this like weird, you know, like I don't know, like sort of I guess like symbiotic relationship with it, where like it causes all these problems in my life of like chaos and distressing my relationships and making me miserable, but then also it addresses those problems because it's this thing I can focus all of my anxiety and mental energy into rather than dealing with the like poor state of my relationships and, you know, clutter and all this kind of thing. So it's like the Homer Simpson thing.
Love
like,
and solution to all of life's problems.
Anyhow, digga, follow up. Kombucha does make you shit yourself.
Okay, hang on. I want to hear all about this, but I want to get it out there. I have one piece of follow up. I am fucking balls deep in kombucha right now.
Okay, tell me what are the performance characteristics that you're experiencing from imbibing a lot of kombucha?
Well, I'll tell you, I enjoy the flavor of it. I'm not getting quite the Max Temkin energy boost I was hoping for, and I also haven't shat myself yet. So I may not be drinking enough, or maybe I'm not drinking it fast enough.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, you there.
A long time, first time. Are you shaking it to get the detritus into every sip? Because that is
an excellent question. Well, here's what I learned in my first day of kombucha: is you don't want to shake it too hard because rejoice, It's a living beverage, which means that when you open it, it's going to fucking spray all over you. And now you got you're covered with jizz. So you got to be real careful. What I do is I turn it over like this, and I allow it to settle a little bit. In my hand, it's still in my hand. You can see it. I turn it back over, lid side up, and then I gently open it. I tried shaking it once, and it literally sprayed all over the room.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, so what I like to get a little bit of that yeasty powder in a little bit in every sip. You know what they call that? They call that the mother.
Oh, that's like it's like the original baller sourdough.
Yes, exactly.
That's the one that's got particles of Napoleon in it.
Yes, and dinosaurs drank that mother. But when you go to someone's house and they're brewing kombucha, I'm assuming this is a thing you've encountered. Like I have friends who like brew kombucha at their house. Also, just to clarify, I'm just buying this from the store. Like I'm not trying to give myself botulism here by like fermenting a bunch of fetid trash in my house.
Don't make your own ketchup. Don't line your own brakes, and don't make your own fucking kombucha. What are you doing? That's like making your own penicillin. Like there's a pretty serviceable version of that you can pick up at Walgreens. I call it the Walgreens test. Is there a version of this I could get at Walgreens that won't kill me? Yes or no?
Nice brand kombucha.
Nice.
Wait, so that's interesting. Do you yell it when you say it?
Oh,
Well, it's
you
got an
have
exclamation
to.
point, Max, and it's trademark.
I always hear it in my head as
Nice.
nice.
Nice nuts.
Nice.
No, I voted party line. I want to hear about you shitting yourself because this calls for man wipes.
So when you
'Cause
buy
your balls are gonna be covered with kombucha shit.
Wait, so you're saying when you buy your dude wipes, your ball wipes, at the Walgreens. Now you've got a little bit of Alex Jones in your nice performance, and I've got a little bit more Borat going on. Nice.
Oh, I see what you're saying. My
Nice. Yeah, and you're more like nice. You got to shake that powder up. You got to get that powder. It diffuses the energy. You get it in your whole body. It's living organisms.
Do you have any
Masculine energy in every sip. An effervescent, vinegary sip of masculine energy. I'm going to rip my shirt off. I'm so excited.
You're going to want to get that mother powder and really jam it into every conceivable cavity of your body. I'll be consulting for the president.
Now, when you go to someone's house and they're brewing, they
Yes.
have this vat, this sort of plastic vat of
the mother vat?
garbage, and there's what looks like a
Oh my
human
God!
foot in
you
a
talking
trash
about you
bag.
talking about the dingus they put in?
That's the
big,
mother.
Oh my God!
That's the mother. So it looks like, to me, it looks like a severed foot. It always looks to me like they're dissolving a body, like from Breaking Bad, and there's like a severed
yeah.
foot in a trash bag just bobbing up and down in this thing. And all it is
Or
is
like
like
you did some pathology slides of a very large squid.
yes, it's a fungal colony.
Ugh. That's the mother. That's how you know it's working. I voted party line. What I did was, while we were on the air last time with our program, I started ordering from the Prime. I tried a variety of flavors, and what I've settled on, because I'm kind of new to this, I don't think I'm ready for multigreen yet. I got some multigreen. I haven't sucked it down yet. I've been voting on, I go Gingerade and the cranberry one, the Cran Ginger, I think it's called. Let me go get it. I'll get one right now. I'll pop one open.
Boy, that Gingerade is good.
It's really refreshing, and I like the mother funk.
Oh, give me some funk. I
Give me some funk, says Max Temkin.
I believe,
Getting one here.
I believe in, I have a sort of powder-based ontology. I think that really in the end, the whole world is all powder.
Well, that's really what's so compelling about the powder world.
Thank you. That's big of you to bring up, Merlin. I mean, what was the Big Bang but really just a diffusion of powder throughout the world?
It took me a few times to get good at taking the little seal off. I seldom remember to honor the scores when it comes to removing a seal. And in this case, I'm going all in. Take that off, and then I do this. Okay, now turn it over once.
You gotta honor the scores.
And you turn it over again, thusly, and oh, brother. Here comes the powder. This one is Cosmic Cranberry. Oh, God, that's full of mother funk.
Oh God! Oh.
Alex, have you been enjoying kombucha?
No.
That's not in your wheelhouse.
No.
That's not your powder.
No. If someone would like to pay me $200 to drink a full bottle of kombucha, great. No.
That would be
God.
the weirdest porn site ever. Like a cam girl, but for drinks.
You'd be surprised.
Hey, sweetie, come to Dubai. I've got kombucha.
Sweetie. Here is the FedEx tracking number.
I've got the simple green.
Drink it on the camera, sweetie.
Hey, sweetie, it's a living beverage.
Slowly.
That's
Drink it slow, sweetie.
when when Zapier, the Saudi prince with the falcons, summons you to his skyscraper in Dubai, he's gonna say, "Moi, sweetie, it's a living beverage."
Miss Cox, you have received another package from Lord Zapier. So anyway, I want to hear about you shitting yourself, Max. So I feel like from seeing this on Twitter, this might be a known issue for kombucha, even if it's not deadly kombucha.
Well, in the software world, I think this is a case where they would say it's a feature, not a bug. So I'll tell you what happened was I started drinking the kombucha, and then I had been shitting myself for some time, and on Twitter, when after the podcast episode posted, someone replied to the Due by Friday or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, have you begun shitting yourself from drinking the kombucha?" And I was like, it all makes sense now. Like, yes, it makes a lot of sense, because I was wondering why I was shitting myself all the time. But I think here's the deal: is like, so I get prescribed antibiotics on I'll say like a couple times a year because for me I have bad Jewish sinuses. It's just again. Listen, I hate to bring the anti-Semitism into everything, but the quality of these genes, it's extremely poor. My sinuses are a disaster. These are not, heritable traits that we want to be passing on, these compromised Jewish sinuses.
Sweet
but
Jesus, no.
I have many sinus issues. I get a sinus infection at the drop of a hat. Is that a saying?
Oh, you get the kind where you like blow your nose and like Oreo dust comes out?
Oh, for me, it's more of a like a Greek yogurt. Will come out.
Okay.
So I get.
So do you take a probiotic to counteract that?
I have done that, and I don't notice any difference. But
you got to take it for a while. Here's what you do: you go to Walgreens, as you do, and you get yourself a box of something called Culturelle. It's a little bit costly, but not too costly. It's about $1 a day. You take a Culturelle every morning, and you're gonna shit like a Viking. It's amazing. It's just like a pleasurable morning kielbasa every single day.
I will try to get on the. I've tried it before. I'm willing to try the probiotic thing, but I take these antibiotics somewhat regularly. I know how bad they are for you. I'm like well familiar with your whatever your
the antibiotics.
The antibiotics, yeah, they're bad.
Yeah,
I mean, they're you should take them if you're prescribed. And
You're taking all these things to the gym. Basically, you're giving all your bad sinuses a workout.
Yeah, but they wreak havoc on your gut, on your microbiome. That's where you want, you've got you got to feed that mother down there.
You got to give a mother to the fauna. The fauna it's all about the fauna. You don't want to get rid of the fauna. Far from it. You want the fauna to be healthy because they live in your gut and they're doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah. So I take the antibiotics and then, I walk around and I feel like fatigued and I'm like get mad at people and my relationships are all deteriorating and my life is a mess. And I'm like, rather than think about any of my behaviors and how I might be complicit in any of that, I'm like, ooh, I should eat some fermented foods because I think that could more deeply address the problem.
Fuck you, I'm eating kimchi.
Because, but here's the thing is that you can buy it.
Oh, see, it helps if you can buy it.
That's what I want. I need something that is nice.
Nice. You need some productization of the things that'll make you less terrible as a Jew.
Right.
That's the problem. Is a lot of times they haven't figured out how to productize it.
That's exactly right. And it's like, oh, well, I should be nicer to everyone around me and be more considerate and spend more time with people where I'm like not on my phone or asking them to do things for me. And that's a lot of work. I mean, you can't really buy that. But kombucha, you just have Amazon bring it. So it's very appealing.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with it for a while. I like it. I like it in the morning. In the morning now, I have 3 beverages. I'm a multi-beverage man. Always have been. Never look back. So I'll have me a coffee. I'll have me a fizzy water, and I'll have me a kombucha. And I sit there and I write in my notebook, and I look at my iPad, and I drink lots of beverages, and I'm enjoying it quite a lot.
How many times do you use the bathroom a day? Would you say, Merlin?
Which one? Number 1, number 2?
Let's say both.
Okay. Number 2, I'm a solid 1.5.
Oh.
I'm maybe a 1.6. I got tight grouping and a tiny window in the morning. That's when it's going to happen unless something's gone horribly wrong because of reasons. I'm a 1.6 man. And then as far as number 1, not as given how much I take in, I think my liver is probably having some problems. I'd like to go more than I do. I'm going to say 4.8 times a day. Yeah, it's kind of weird. You realize that we really are just kind of like animated meat bags when you think about like, as a consequence of having certain great-great-grandparents, you're more likely to have a certain kind of health problem, whether that's, breast cancer or,
or a love of gold coins.
Geld, they call it. Jazz break.
I got some follow-up here. What'd you have, Alex? Go ahead.
I wanted to ask Merlin about his to-do list. Because it's almost like you're turning into Merlin Man again. It's very exciting. Yeah. Oh, and I wore the stupid the Pavlok thing like all week, and I kind of like it.
What did you set it? Okay, well, all right. What did you set it to? How have you programmed your Pavlok?
I did it so it shocked me when I tweeted, as well as the hand raising thing, so that I didn't mess up my hair during the day. I'm not wearing it today, so I'm just a mess. But yeah, it was. I liked it. However, you know how you get like phantom phone buzzes in your pocket sometimes? Now I'm just kind of getting like phantom shocks in my right wrist. So we'll see how long before those go away. Yeah, that's all I have.
Oh my God. I'm actually going to try it again. There's a habit I want to stop.
Well, this is a challenge, goddamn gold mine. Just save it for the challenge, for the podcast, for Christ's sakes, people.
You see, we got to put every nickel on the screen. If we're gonna beat the other Jew hating podcast, we're gonna have to really focus our efforts. We're gonna have to really quadruple down, as they like to say in blackjack. We're gonna have to really focus our efforts, put it all into the podcast. Maybe start going to twice or 3 times a week.
I have some a big anti-Semitism follow-up. So
Okay.
as you know, Bob. So. Well, there's been, just where to even start with the anti-Semitism news this week? It's been a huge week in our number one topic. But this was from this morning. So Trump yesterday went to the African American History exhibit, or a museum rather, and there was a report out this morning. Who had this? Daniel Dale, who is a correspondent for the Toronto Star. Here we go. So this is a statement from Alveda King, who went to the slavery exhibit at the African American History Museum with Donald Trump yesterday. As she says, the first his reaction, the first came when his gaze fell on a stone auction block from Hagerstown, Maryland, on which slaves would stand before being sold. King, part of a small delegation to tour the new Smithsonian with the president, overheard Trump say, "Boy, that is just not good. That is not good." Later, they came upon a set of shackles that were used to restrain children. "That is really bad," King quoted the president as saying. "That is really bad." And you know what it reminds me of is, have you guys ever been to Medieval Times Dinner and Tournament?
I have not, no.
So they have, at Medieval Times Dinner and Tournament, one of the awesome things they have in the lobby is a sort of mini museum of medieval torture devices. And you can look
Bon
at like
appetit.
the giant, it's like the cranks that pull people's like limbs apart, and the cage that goes in their head with the rats, and there's like a huge screw that they'll just screw into a man's anus one turn a day. And so it's these devices are, I think they're probably apocryphal if I had to guess. Like, I don't know if they were ever actually used, but you go in there and you're 12 years old and you look at them and you're just fascinated. You just are so titillated by these devices. They're all sort of, sadomasochistic and sort of weird, dark, some sort of weird psychosexual thing happening in this exhibit. And you're going through this exhibit and you're just looking at them and you're going, "Boy, that is really bad. That's really bad. That is just not good."
Not good.
That is how I imagine Trump going through, looking at the children slavery exhibit, just looking at it and rubbing his hands together and going, "Boy, that is really bad. That is just so bad."
What a disaster.
Hope they don't screw my anus.
Oh, do you think they ever turn it twice a day? Ooh, that's not good. Oh, God. It is. There's something kind of, even if you're not overtly titillated by stuff like that, there is still something pornographic, voyeuristic about that. Like, you know, you ever go down the rabbit hole of torture on Wikipedia?
Oh
It's
boy,
of
have I?
course.
You know the Chinese water torture?
I know
Oh,
death by
yeah.
1,000 cuts. I know them all.
Oof.
I mean, when you really read it about it, you're like, oh, this is horrible.
It's just awful.
Do
Just
you,
so
do you
not
think if
good.
you were a serial killer,
so
you
bad.
would torture somebody or just get it over with?
That's a really good question.
Alex, that boy, because I don't want to take us off the topic, but this is a whole week.
That's
because
a really good question.
can I ask you guys a
Oh,
question? Do you ever go on like serial killer Wikipedia and just get
literally every day.
I do. Oh my
Constantly.
God, this is the new podcast.
Constantly.
Okay, I go on serial killer Twitter and I wind up after an hour. I wind up rooting for the serial killers and I wind up like evaluating their plans from a tactical point of view, where they
Yes.
they start their
How
rampage.
do you not admire Ted Bundy?
Oh my
Oh,
God, the
yeah.
master of his craft. But
He's
sometimes,
amazing.
Sometimes I get into the lesser serial killers, and it's this is just a guy who went on a rampage on the campus, and it's like it makes no sense. It's like, dude, you got to start it with the cheerleaders because they're who wronged
Yeah.
you. It's like if you're not taking out 8, 9 cheerleaders before the rampage even hits its peak, it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. John Wayne Gacy just wanted a little bit of help around the house. Pretty soon he's reading your Bible verses.
I'm a big fan of the Murder Castle by the hotel constructed by H.H. Holmes here in Chicago.
Yes.
It was a work of art.
Boy, the building code must have been really different back then because I couldn't have
Yeah.
done any of that shit in my house. The inspector was up my ass. Talk about turning the screw every day.
That's right.
Jesus.
Once a day. Not good.
You come in, it'd be like the panels on this deck are too close to the property line. You can't have wood there. Oh, thank you.
Hey, Sid. Hey, Marty. Is it time? Yep. One turn. All right, buddy. See you tomorrow. You want anything special for breakfast? I'm good. Very bad. Very bad. Oh, the depth of feelings. He's probably just masking how deeply he's feeling that moment. Really, really turning it over in his mind. 400 years of awfulness visited upon an entire race of people, and he's just thinking about, I wonder if they'll have meatloaf today.
Hey, Chris Christie, eat some of this meatloaf. So Trump still, by the way, has not. The reason I brought this whole thing up is this was actually like a fairly big deal for him to go to the African American History Museum. The fucking guy still hasn't gone to the Holocaust Museum, and the White House keeps defending this comment where they won't acknowledge that Jewish people suffer, like specifically mention Jewish people in Holocaust Remembrance Day, and their line that they keep saying, which is fucking awesome. It's so cool how it's like at least they're like fully transparent about it. Like I kind of admire the balls on them to just come out and say it, and they're like where they're just like, yeah, well, they're like a lot of people suffered in the Holocaust, so we're trying to be inclusive of all the groups. That's so like at least I like that they're just brazen about it. Like it's kind of comforting in a way.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, cool. Now we know where we all are.
They're kind of all lives mattering.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very bad.
I think Trump
Not
goes.
good, not
I
good.
think I would put $100 on Trump goes to the Holocaust Museum, and he gets to that. Have you been? Have you guys ever been to the Holocaust Museum in D.C.?
No.
Oh boy, is that an afternoon! So you get to the
It sounds
you get to
incredible.
the Dr. Mengele section where they build the walls
God.
so children can't see. It's like you have to stand over the wall so children can't see it. I mean, that's some good shit, and I could just see him peering over that and just being hypnotized by it, and he's under his breath. He goes, "Nice." Because what would happen? What would happen if you put people into ice water and then hot water? What would happen? Who hasn't wondered that? So anyway, Merlin, you had a to-do app that you were using?
Yeah, so page 2. I've been just noodling with Todoist because they talked about it on the podcast Cortex, and I was looking at it, and I hadn't looked at it in just about 10 years, and I think it's very interesting. It's got some things that I kind of like about it. It feels like even when you're using the app on a Mac, I think the Mac app is essentially a web view. Like there's all kinds of things about it. Really, it just feels like you're butt deep in Ajax. So, like, I mean, there's all kinds of things I'm used to with OmniFocus that this doesn't do that's a little bit maddening. But I feel like it's somewhere between OmniFocus, TaskPaper, and Fantastical, right? Like I really like the fact that it has the intelligent, natural language stuff. I like that it kind of, because it doesn't have affordances to do too much fiddly stuff, it kind of encourages you to be really lean about what you put in there, and then focuses very heavily on like, okay, so when do you have to do this? Do you have to do this today? No. So it's mostly an experiment. But I'm also very interested in the idea of these templates you can get. We can go and get like project templates people have made to go in and do stuff. So I'm just playing with it, but I like it. Oh, also it works with Lady in a Tube.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. I talk to her so much more now. She's like my best friend who is also a slave in a small machine. It's great.
Sad. Are you using Todoist, Max?
Now, well, so here's the thing: is as you guys know, I think we've talked about on the podcast. I'm all in on the OmniFocus system. I have like an OmniFocus based lifestyle, and it's kind of the only way that I can hold my brain together and not feel like my life is like spinning out of control every day. But for anyone who's open OmniFocus, you're looking at that interface, and I think a lot of people get into OmniFocus and they're like, well, this is pretty good, but I wish there was a lot more options and stuff to do in here, because the one thing that OmniFocus doesn't have is a lot of text fields and buttons and options for customization. You're like, well, I really want a lot of options in terms of how I structure my to-do items and then view them. And if you're telling me that there's...
What if I just want to see completed flagged items from October of 2007?
Yeah. Well,
Is there any way I could possibly do that?
Who doesn't need that all the time? And if you're telling me that there's a program out there where I could actually spend more time customizing it and it gives me even more flexibility in terms of seeing my to-do lists, I mean, I'm on board, because I don't, so much as I want to do things as customize my to-do list and change like the icons and categorize them in different ways in lieu of doing the work. Because like a lot of times I find
it's got themes.
Oh, that's what I'm there for. Because a lot of times I find it's like, ooh, like I've got this thing coming up and I really have to do it, and it's urgent and it's hard work, and I'm a little insecure about it, and I just don't want to do it, and I'm just staring at my screen and I'm like, if I just changed the metadata on this task, I wouldn't actually see it. I could move it to like a different project or something. So that's a little productivity hack to provide to our listeners.
Oh, you're good. You are good.
And because if it's not there, you don't have to do it. And I'm interested. If you're telling me there's an app with more ways to do this, and it makes it even harder to figure out what I'm supposed to do every day, and I can spend more time, dickering around with it, I mean, I'm on board.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. More time to spend on serial killers and torture devices.
Right.
Not good. Yeah. So anyway, I'm playing with that, and that may factor into a challenge this week potentially. But yeah, we'll see. I like I mentioned this on another program yesterday, but I just feel like like if I really think about what I have to do, what I want to do with an app like this, functionally, it's a place where I want to put stuff and forget it. A lot like reminders, for example. I want just a lightly structured way to put stuff and not think about it till I need to think about it, and I am trying to avoid all of the other things that would encourage me to fiddle. I mean, I don't really do anything. My job is really simple. I mean, I do the same things, but I do them, repetitively. Like, I've got to go do these show notes. I've got to go do that thing. I've got to go edit this thing. It's not difficult. It's not complicated. But in order to like block out a week in a way that's sensible and make good decisions and not, be running around like a chicken with my head cut off every day, I just like to, plan that stuff out, know what I need to do, and make sure we don't run out of milk, like all that dumb stuff. And that I just need enough of an infrastructure to help me remember that stuff and as a bulwark against insanity.
That's why you put your template in TaskPaper and export it as Markdown and goes into Todoist. It's great.
Oh, and now I wish Gray would give out his Forgotten Towel templates.
Can we? I wonder. I don't know if I'm good enough internet friends.
I don't
Frank.
think he'd do it. He doesn't like people.
Yeah.
But don't you kind of want those?
No. I would ask Frank, not CGP Gray. Good Lord.
Oh, I see. You do it on the back channel. I lost my Apple Pencil. I lost both my Apple Pencils, and I can't find them because now I really want to go play with GoodNotes. Do you know about GoodNotes, Max?
I mean, is that like a note that's of high quality?
Do you use your iPad at all?
I watched Les Mis on it.
I
should say I don't want to say that I watched Les Mis so much as I fell asleep to it multiple times over this week until they get to a big musical number, because it's a very dynamic volume on that, and then I'm drifting off to slumberland, and then all of a sudden everyone starts stomping on the floor and singing about their, stealing the rent from people or some nonsense.
Sometimes they talk a little, sometimes they sing a little. We really should get going. You must pack your things. So anyway,
in terms of a good note, I've got one here that just says office signs. The P stuff is probably true.
Huh?
Are you still using Simple Note?
No, I'm on Bear.
Oh, thank God.
I'm a big Bear boy.
Good.
Big Bear boy.
It's a good thing that doesn't have any other meanings.
Not good.
I think I'd be more of an otter. No, wait, is that it?
Yeah, I think you're
What is
not
this,
quite
like a
hairy
spinner?
enough to be a bear. No, an otter is like the cute little gay bears. Typically an otter will take on a bear as their daddy.
Now I've heard that the culture is now that people just expect a bear to be a muscle bear. Would you say that that's accurate?
You know what? I'm not sure.
I think of
There's
a bear
lot
as more like a Hagrid kind of guy. Like not necessarily super fit. It's going to be he might be a little thick in the middle. That's kind of a performance characteristic of a bear. Don't you think?
I believe there is there's subsets of bears, obviously. There's chocolate bears. I wonder what that is.
You've got your Jewish bears that are
the Jew
primarily
bears.
motivated by their love of honey.
Got to pick a bucket or two.
That was the one that woke me up. I'm going to have nightmares about that song because I'd be falling asleep during a boring part, and then all of a sudden Bellatrix Lestrange and fucking Borat come on the screen, and they start stomping around talking about their selling their children or whatever.
Yeah, and Borat.
Nice.
Challenge.
The challenge this week was my week, and I challenged Max and Merlin to watch the 2012 film adaptation of Les Mis, which is based on the musical, which is based on the book by Victor Hugo.
Before we get into this, Alex, so here's what let me just start. Can I just throw you a couple questions because I want to get some information out of you about this.
Okay.
So here's my understanding from like Googling and talking to Veronica about this. Veronica assistant stage managed a production of Les Mis when we were in high
Ooh.
school, and I saw it, but I did not understand anything that was happening or like it. So here's my question. So the musical is quite popular, but the movie came out and was not liked. I mean, nobody liked the movie.
A lot of moms and families liked it. It has like a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's well known for being not liked by both film critics and theater nerds.
Okay. Now, tell me about your sort of history with what does the musical mean to you? What does the movie mean to you?
I really don't like the movie. I just was mad about the Pavlok, so I wanted to see if you could get through it. And I was considering making you watch Mamma Mia, but that's a much shorter movie, and it would be far less painful.
Yeah, but you guys both like the musical.
I love the musical.
What do you tell me about what you like about it? What are the I'm just sort of trying to get my head around this.
It's by no means my favorite musical. It's very much based on sort of like nostalgia and the high school theater kid in me. And I don't know, when you don't have valid emotions as a teenager and you just are upset about poverty in the world, and you want to get the guy because you're very confused. It's just a feel good musical. I know that it feels like a strange thing to say about Les Mis, but if you've read the book, this
Have you read the book?
Yeah, wow. I have not read it in French. That would be no.
But you did. Wow. Isn't it a pretty big book?
Yeah. So is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. That sure is something. Yeah. I did my high school sophomore thesis on Victor Hugo, who is kind of oh man, that man really wanted to fuck a goat. Have you read any Victor Hugo? Hugo Victor, what's his name? Any of his works, Merlin?
God, I can't think of. Let me go look. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I'm looking on his page here.
He was a very sad man.
Really? Okay.
But I just it was one of those things that, like, it was a musical that was easy to see at the time. Like, there were a lot of high school and college productions of it. There was when the 25th anniversary happened, there was this whole big concert that was really cool and fun. The company came to Chicago a few times, so I have no rational reasons for liking it. I have many rational reasons for disliking many portions of both the musical and the film. But I don't know. Merlin put it really well when he said it's like the Doctor Whoiest of musicals.
Yeah. I mentioned this to you guys in text, but my background with this is so strange, and I'm feeling like it's emblematic of how screwed up and pointillist much of my personal fandom has become in the past 15, 20 years. Where, like, I think I told you I got this on a mixtape from a friend of mine when I was in college. I'd heard maybe a couple songs from it randomly, and I was like, ugh. This is not as good as The Confrontation, because it's weird. It's like opera, and that was not my jam in the 90s. I feel like I saw the movie streaming. I might have even bought it on iTunes, but it did not stick with me. And here's the crazy part, and I know how much Max loves this: the carpool karaoke with Lin-Manuel Miranda and a bunch of other Broadway people that James Corden did. I guess early last year, probably. Is that about right?
It was to promote the the Tonys. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And but that's a time when our whole household, especially my daughter and I, were really into Hamilton and listening to it a lot. We're like, oh my God, Lin-Manuel Miranda's on Carpool Karaoke. We saw that. We watched it many times because he's such a delight. We watched it over and over and over, and I was like, oh God! At one point they sing "One Day More" in the car. And I was like, wow, this song, I must have heard this, but I really like it. I'm very intrigued by what they're doing and what they're acting out. Clearly, these two are a couple, and this is a rejected woman. And like, what is that? I ended up going and watching videos on YouTube from the movie, particularly One Day More, and I Dreamed a Dream. Watched the movie again. Started listening to the soundtrack. My daughter started really getting into it. My daughter can basically throw down The Confrontation, like, on demand. It's pretty crazy. And we do it together, and it's totally gay. And then so I just got really into it. I started watching the movie again, movie soundtrack. And then I fall down the YouTube rabbit hole of all the different performances. Like, you can find like behind the scenes interviews when it was on Broadway that somebody's like shot from VHS. You can find obviously the 10th anniversary, the 25th anniversary, all these different versions. You can go listen to it in French on iTunes, the original version. So anyway, it's completely fractured. It doesn't make a lick of sense. And I don't know. I don't want to monopolize this, but I think it's very emblematic of the way I approach things today, that I could become so interested in elements of this thing without having any background of any kind with it. Where again, like Doctor Who, I know so much about certain parts of this and so extremely little about others. It must be completely vexing to super fans and newbies alike, much like this movie was. So I think there's a pattern here. I think I have... No, I haven't. No, to answer your question, I saw La Boheme when I was in high school. Like an actual operatic staging. Well, as much as Tampa does something like that. An operatic staging, that's not nice. An operatic staging of La Boheme. I have not been to very many live professional musicals.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually saw this in the theater and enjoyed it way more because the guy who directed this, Tom Hooper, also did The King's Speech, most known for beating Social Network as Best Picture at the Academy Awards. And it was just so grandiose, and it was completely different from anything
Alex,
he'd ever
it's
done.
a story. The King's Speech is a great film. It's a story that everybody can relate to, which is when there's a stuttering inbred king and it's hard for him to talk about the war.
Not good.
I really enjoy the Netflix series The Crown. It's like White Tears the series. I really, really like it.
But this one's got Mr. Darcy in it. Ladies
He's
love
like
Mr.
chasing
Darcy.
an elephant. What is happening in that show? All right, okay. Yeah, Social Network should have won. Anyway,
But, okay, so you've seen. The thing is, as somebody who has not seen it in a theater, I mean, are there any widely available sources of what an actual staging of the musical play looks like as opposed to a concert performance in costume? I mean, let me ask the dumbest question in the world. When you go and see, if you went in 1985 or whatever, you went to see Les Mis on stage, if you saw it in the West End or you saw it in Broadway, are they acting out a play, or are they really just standing at microphones?
oh no, they're acting out a play. I mean, it is much. It's obviously
That's the only thing that made sense. But are there any versions of that available, like full stagings of it?
Maybe. There's
Hey,
not
have
one
you
you
guys-
can purchase.
Have you guys ever had this happen to you? Because this happens to me all the time. Is when I'm going about my business and there's like for whatever reason I have to lift up a car. Like let's just say there's a guy trapped under it or a child on his bicycle, and I have to
We
lift
feel
up
like you
the car.
have to do it.
And then because I lifted up the car, the police recognize me based on my tremendous strength.
They recognize you. They're pretty sure they recognize you.
Yeah, they're like
they don't just
they're
instantly
like,
arrest
wow, they're
you.
like not a
They
lot of
just
people
think
can
about it.
lift a whole car up. That must be
Yeah.
Max. And of course the audience knows I'm Max because when I walk, as soon as I walk into the room, I go, "Hello, my name is Max. I host the podcast."
Okay, now what about this? I mean, you guys, we're all doing pretty good right now. You pay your bills, but have you ever run into a situation where you're a little short? You're a little short on money. Now, what do you guys sell when you're short on money?
Well,
obviously your hair, but like, let's say you've run out of hair. What are you gonna start selling?
now, are you taking for granted in this hypothetical that I do not own some sort of boarding home with an orphan that's just available for cash?
All I know, I don't know who's buying the teeth, but I know there's an interest out there in you.
Why though? I don't understand who's buying.
Who buys you?
What's the
teeth?
deal with these teeth? Who's out there buying these teeth? I don't get it.
They're
What are people doing with all these teeth out there?
Do you want a serious an answer? That was the thing that the royalty, even the fanciest of the fancy did not have great toothbrushes, so they lose their
sure.
teeth. And
When you get a new one, you just pop it in there.
yeah, you get a prostitute who's young and you take her.
Well, you
teeth
want
and-
young teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
If there's one thing we can learn from Peter Thiel, I mean, we try to learn a lot from Peter Thiel on this podcast about how to
It's
run
true.
a business and invest in things.
You don't want old teeth.
Now, you get the youthful teeth. I mean, that keeps you young.
Oh, it's like going to Costco getting new tires. You just go have them rip some teeth out of a hooker's head. You put that in, and then maybe you get the blood of a Cosette.
I'm sorry, Alex. I did not want to interrupt that story because I was you sort of trailed off. You sort of yada yada that story. But what happens with the teeth? So the rich people lose their teeth. They buy a hooker's tooth, and then
They just put them in their mouth. I don't
just like
Yeah.
now you got it.
With how did Washington do it? How
He had
Ian
ivory.
Hooker's
So
teeth.
No,
wrong,
they
so
were-
right.
he had
This will improve your bite.
Well, he had slave teeth.
Oh, slave. He had Sally Hemings' teeth.
No, he
Yeah,
did. He had.
14.
You could see his dentures at the Smithsonian. They were like this contraption made out of slaves' teeth.
Did you know Sally Hemings was 14? Not good.
Boy, that's really bad. I'm sorry. I don't want to Milo Yiannopoulos myself here. You know what I mean? It's very important to me that
Yeah.
I keep my position at Breitbart.
Is that a euphemism?
Well, I just want to say it's like the anti-Semitism podcast. It's going really well, and I don't want to screw it up, because if I say something too controversial, I'll have to resign to protect the integrity of the good work that you guys are doing on this show. Just getting our anti-Semitic message out to the world.
Yeah. Well, Max just went a little bit too far, so we had to ask for his resignation.
He started wearing pearls. We had to be like, no more.
I mean, but what is the age of consent? It's just a number.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole classical tradition of this. You got, you got Socrates and the priests and Skype videos.
There is a long,
rich tradition,
intellectual tradition of Socratic boy fucking, and it's part of our Western civilization.
Well, and it's a little bit normative to not realize that's just part of their culture.
I mean,
boo for normative. Boo for normative.
Yeah, like who are we to impose our values on ancient Athenian boy fuckers?
That's probably how Alex got started. You get some kind of Wonder Woman character that comes in.
Yeah.
Right? You come in, you get you get an Indigo Girls record, you do some dancing.
It is with a heavy heart that I must announce my resignation from the Do by Friday podcast. My comments crossed a line, and my continued participation in the podcast will only serve as a distraction to the excellent anti-Semitic work that Merlin and Alex are doing. I want to apologize to all my fans and listeners.
Very bold, very brave statement. Thank you, Max. You took a bullet for us.
I have really complicated feelings about this movie, and I don't even
sing it, sister.
I do not even want to go so far as to say that I think it's good or bad. I just found it really interesting and extremely. I think about it a lot, but I also fell asleep multiple times while I was watching it, and I at one point
that's a good definition of mixed.
And also at one point I was the first time on my first attempt at viewing this thing, I got to the scene where Anne Hathaway she had finished her sort of snot singing, and she had the teeth pulled, and I looked at the I hit the little touch button on the Apple TV to be like, oh Christ, we must be almost done with this movie, and we were like 15 minutes into a 2.5-hour movie, and I was like, I have been sitting here for 8 hours watching this. Like, how is this possible?
Yeah, like they just pulled a Janet Leigh on you. You figure she's going to be. They did a Psycho. They ran a Psycho on you because you figure, it's L.A. Kalin's girlfriend. Obviously, she's going to be the banner star of this that we're going to see through the whole movie. She's done by the first reel.
But it just everything has just moved so goddamn slow in this movie. Like it's such a weird.
Yeah, it moves too slow and it moves too fast. Like so much of the whole basis of the second act comes out of this flaming romance between Newt Scamander and the blonde bird lady, and that's supposed to be this huge romance that's going to drive all the tension. And Eponine steals the note. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you go and take a leak and come back and you miss the romance. You're like, what was that? They saw each other across the street and that, what?
Yeah.
Am I reading that wrong, Alex?
So in the stage production, it's very, it totally makes sense because it's a musical, it's a play. And they're basically, the way the blocking works is they're basically, there's this commotion in the street where the guy who plays Borat and his wife are fighting with Jean Valjean. And
his wife,
and they're basically singing to each other, and you're like, okay, I see what's happening. Now let's go to the revolution, and it moves along fairly quickly. But they felt they needed to stage it in a realistic way, and that's the whole problem with this movie. They yes, this is how we would get a ship in, so this is what the slaves will do, and the whole thing.
This was one of the central tensions that I think is interesting about it. So I'm interested in this story, and I think it's a sort of a successful materialist piece of art, dialectical materialist piece of art. I think the entire movie can really correctly be read as a kind of a Marxist piece, right? So it's looking at the role of class and identity and how you can never escape your class, and Jean Valjean he's constantly fleeing his identity and his past as a low-class person. And Javert his entire identity is wrapped up in the class system, and he can't let go of it. And when he finally sees the facade of it, he has nothing left to live for, and throws himself into the river. And also I think the whole Anne Hathaway story is also a really nice example of it follows that she has no options, and when Javert arrives, he immediately believes the guy who attacked her. There's so many little pieces and parts before you even get to the stupid barricade thing and the 38 failed I think it was it the 38 revolution? I don't know my French history super well.
All I know is it is not the French Revolution, and everyone gets mad because
No,
it's
there's like
mistaken for that.
6 French revolutions. And
Exactly.
This is one
it's not the important
Right.
one.
the
basically.
the only historically interesting thing about this revolution at all is that it was put in Les Mis, and a bunch of students died in the
Yep.
streets.
Yeah.
And I think they killed more French officers than were killed of them, but I could be wrong about that. I could be thinking of something else. Anyway, sorry, neither here nor there. But so I think it's interesting that it's this sort of like it's a Marxist piece of art, and that's cool. That's interesting. But one of the other things is like it functions almost completely without irony. Like everything. I mean, this is like possibly what I don't like about musicals in general. Is like
Everything's serious business.
it's so fucking serious, and these are not. The thing about Marxism is irony or earnestness, whichever angle you go. You need to access the fundamental humanity of the people that it affects. And I feel that this movie pushed everyone, and the story pushes everyone to a point of character. And when you have Anne Hathaway and there's snots running out of her nose and she's sobbing and belting out this song, and it's just, and her hair is all cut off, and it's just like, it's so much. I mean, this is not how real people act. It's an inhuman performance. And to me, I understand the attempt of earnestness. Like, the story is so earnest, the motivations of the characters, I mean, they literally sing them out loud to you. And then it's shot in a way to dismantle any sort of ironic reading of the film, which is why I think people react so viscerally to it. As the audience, like, it got such a reaction of people fucking hate it. It makes you uncomfortable. The camera is right up in these fucking people's faces. There's nothing in the frame.
Just real quickly, my big thing with this is I feel like this is that kind of movie, as I said to y'all in text, like Watchmen. This is the kind of movie that is almost destined to be disappointing because there's really no way that you could satisfy very opinionated superfans and make something that's going to make sense to people who don't know anything about it. But also and I don't want to criticize it because I actually do love this movie. It's kind of a terrible movie that I really, really love. So just want to get that out of the way. But you're nailing it right there, because when you watch this movie, especially with like Marius, and I think Eddie Redmayne does a really nice job with this. I think his singing is great, his performance is very good.
Who is Marius?
New Harry Potter.
Oh, he's like
Newt
the
Scamander.
autistic wizard.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
A spectrum witch. I think he's great in this, but the thing is, there's so many shots that, like you say, there's a tight shot of somebody's face being about half of the screen and then bokeh'd out in the back, like a very like a prime-ish lens, and everything's so it's super intimate, very in your face. You can see every freckle on his face, and the singing is also very muted. The singing, not all the time, but a lot of the time, as much as it sounds big and operatic compared to the stage show, it's nothing compared to the stage
is
show.
absolutely
where things are
nothing.
so big
Yeah.
and like unapologetically operatic, whereas in this, it seems like they almost feel like a little timid or a little bit embarrassed to be in a sung-through musical where there are little bits where they talk like this is rhythmic and then there's some singing.
But how do you? But because it's trying to marry the form of the musical, which is the least human, least realistic, most performative caricature of human behavior that our species has ever invented, with the gritty realism of like The Dark Knight. It's like it's like a gritty reboot of a musical.
It's got some Snyder moments. Tell us about the noise, Alex.
This week, Alex's Moan Corner. I mean,
Alex's screw just got turned.
Just one. That sounds like a new Brady segment. What the Alex Noise Corner?
You know what really turns my screw?
Yeah, my jailer.
How hard it is to buy teeth nowadays.
Not good. Not good.
I want a hooker with hair.
Alex Jones should sell teeth.
This movie is shot like 50% of the time trying to make the musical more intimate. Kind of the way like Rent is shot. Like they really try to, like you said, they hone in. Like, so many of the shots are just a person's face, and nobody can pull that off except Anne Hathaway. Like, just God, Russell Crowe's face filling up a screen as he's like talk singing, and
And Lil Sharp. I mean, he's pretty miscast in this. We give Mr. Crow a hard time, but he was probably not the best casting decision for this.
So
many
I
people
thought
were miscast. Though.
I liked Russell Crowe. I don't know how I'm
No.
supposed to. I don't know what I'm supposed to believe about this, but having watched it now, I thought Russell Crowe. I ultimately bought into his performance and felt better
By the
about
end,
him
yeah.
overall more than Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman, I always fucking hated him in this movie, and I never liked him, and I always thought he was obnoxious,
Really?
and I never felt his plight. His face is so scraggly. And he's wet all the time.
He's very dirty and poor, and he's 24601, and I just and that's the thing too. You're not supposed to. The sort of shtick of Les Mis is it's supposed to be grandiose on this intimate level, which is like works so well as a musical and
as a stage musical.
Yeah, and like I said, 50% of the time it's shot so intimately. Like if they had gone full on like intimacy or full on like Titanic, like gigantic shots, I think it would have worked. But oh god, what's the song called? Hearing the People Sing Song. Like that scene is probably my least favorite. My favorite in the stage show, but my least favorite in the film, because it's like if there's a riot in the street, like two guys are not gonna hop on a stagecoach, and it totally
It's almost
works
exactly
on
what
stage.
happened in the real thing, though.
You mean in the actual riot that happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, but there weren't hundreds of Parisian soldiers like hanging around.
No, there were. They diverted the motorcade. Yeah. You can go read the Wikipedia or whatever about it. I had one thing on the filmmaking to bring up. So this is a. I just want to bring up this like tweet, little essay by a friend of the show, Todd Vaziri. Does anyone want to introduce Todd to our listeners just so they understand who this guy is?
Todd's official title, I think he's a visual effects supervisor, but he works at Lucas. He makes Star Wars movies. He's very involved at a, I don't know, I think like a medium high level at like how I see there's so much to this, but basically Todd makes Star Wars, and he thinks a lot about how stories get told.
Yeah, I mean, I followed him on Twitter for a very long time, and he's someone I really look up to in terms of how he thinks about movies, and I've just learned a lot from hearing him talk about movies. He is, if you want to follow him on Twitter,
because he doesn't think of it like people. I mean, just to ring Todd's bell for a minute here, people are always going, "Oh, CGI is ruining movies." It's like, no, CGI is not ruining movies. There's so much quote unquote CGI in movies you just didn't even notice was CGI.
Yeah, well, okay. I have literally. I'm about to go into the perfect example of this, but so this is a couple of tweets I'm just going to read by Todd Vaziri. He's at T Vaziri on Twitter. So this is about the bat swarm effect in Batman Begins. So he says, "Batman Begins. I adore how unsexy and unglamorous the bat swarm was executed in VFX. The visual restraint on display is staggering. The bats swarming the asylum is choreographed as if real bats were on set, and each shot was a difficult one-off to get right. Other filmmakers might choose to make quote-unquote sexier shots, the camera riding alongside the bats in a single uninterrupted shot, turning corners, or shots where a bat stops, turns towards the camera, hisses, and then flies off. Nope, none of that here." Like, I think about that all the time. Of like, how many times have you seen that in a movie with expensive VFX, where like literally the bat like looks into the camera and winks at you? And it totally takes you out of the story and the narrative. I actually thought that there were real bats in that Batman movie because of how it was shot. So I didn't even know that was a visual, CGI visual effect. But I was really reminded of that in this movie, where there was one of the big introductory scenes of Valjean, where he has stolen the candlesticks, and then he has his "Who Am I?", his very emotional song, and it's all shot with this really tight tracking shot of Hugh Jackman's face, and he's emoting like a motherfucker into the camera, and he's belting this song out even though he has trouble sort of sustaining the notes. And it's just meant to be this very earnest, emotional expression, introduction to his character, and then he decides he's not going to be Valjean anymore, and he rips up his papers, and he throws them into the wind, and the camera tracks up, and the little papers, it literally follows one of the flutters into the city skyline in the most obnoxious shot. So it's such whiplash, because you're like, all right, I'm like in the movie right up in this guy's face. Like, I felt uncomfortable, like I'm in his personal space as he has this personal crisis, and you're inescapable incapable, and you're like, oh, like too close to the camera, like right up in
But
the
then,
action.
and then the camera flies up into some kind of like a Hogwarts shot.
Yeah.
where you'll
It's
see
like
like,
the-
"Whoa, here's the
it's like
street.
the
You're
intro
looking
to
down
Harry
now." And it's
Potter,
like, that
like,
was kind of
oh,
abrupt.
the
Yeah, it was
Scroll of
literally
Owls.
like one of those shots where it was like, put on your 3D glasses now, and it blinks, and then like a watermelon flies into your face or something. So I was just
Yeah.
like, what movie is this? Like, what am I watching here?
Movie made by a British guy who really likes musicals, who wanted to make a lot of money, and he succeeded. I mean, it's hard too, because the young who's I can never remember the French guy's name. The French, yeah, as opposed to the not French people in this movie. Marius's buddy, he was Figaro.
Oh yeah, how do you pronounce that?
I don't know.
I've never said it out loud.
I paused and rewind so many times trying to learn the pronunciation.
Is it Angelas?
I think it's
Angelas?
It doesn't see. I think it's Angelas, but that does not sound French in my brain. And my French speaking wife is like, I don't know if that's a real name.
It's kind of a tongue twister.
Yeah, actually, Eponine or Victor Hugo made up that name, and it means goddess of horses or horse goddess or something, depending on how you translate it. God, that poor lady. She was in the 25th anniversary cast, and I think she's fantastic, despite being
Who? Eponine?
Yeah, yeah.
she's the standout talent in this one, I think, and she's. It's weird because when you watch, not to interrupt you, but like when you watch the stage version, certain performances really stand out. And in that one, I think the guy who does Valjean, I think he really does stand out. Very different from the way Colin Wilkinson does it. But the Eponine woman is like, she just pierces the room in the best possible way. She's amazing. What's her name? Samantha something. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Please. Samantha Barks, who is so tightly corseted in this, it made my head a little bit spinny. That poor woman, she's filthy and she's wet, and she obviously can't breathe.
Why was everyone wet? Now I've seen it and I still don't understand.
Because they're poor.
Why is it? Does it represent the oppression of the capitalist system that they constantly can't? They can never get dry. You can never dry yourself of your status as a lower class person.
I actually have a theory about this because rain is in a lot of the lyrics, and there's lots of references to rain and you know, like drowning, and you can't do that in a stage show. So they really wanted to be like, yep, we're all wet and dirty and cold. And, oh God, it's so.
Well, here we
bad.
go. This is let's see, Les Misérables. Samantha Barks on freezing rain, tight corsets, and weight loss. Put it in notes. Okay, so I'm sorry, I totally cut you off. You were saying.
I don't remember. Oh, they just tried to pad the cast in a way that's like, all right, we've got Wolverine, we've got a Gladiator, we have a Mean Girl, but also, you know, we've got
Wait, there was a Mean Girl?
yeah, Amanda Seyfried, the bird and
The bird lady.
Bird lady. Yeah, she's the one whose boobs can tell when it's raining.
Yeah,
She
she's
was
that.
in this? Who was she?
She's
ESPN.
Cosette. Yeah.
Wolverine's adopted
She was
daughter.
Cosette?
Yeah. She's oh,
Wow.
she's so bad.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, it's awful. But I mean, she is also in Mamma Mia. Actually, I don't know why they.
She seems nice.
She seems like a very nice lady, and she's very funny in Mean Girls. But. Oh man, but they have again another one of Marius's friends, both the red jacket guy.
He doesn't even go here.
Hair's full of secrets. Of course, that's full of secrets.
Is it Mean Girls?
Merlin, have you not seen Mean Girls?
You wouldn't understand.
Not since it came out.
You-
Is that
you
the
go,
lady
Glenn
I like
Coco.
in it? Is that Rachel Adams?
No. This is Lindsay Lohan, and it was written by Tina Fey.
Yeah,
and
that's
Amy
what I'm
Poehler.
thinking of. I think Mean Girls, and they do the sexy Santa dance. Is that movie?
Yes. Is
That's a good movie.
Is-
And Tina Fey's in there,
yeah,
right?
she wrote it. This is when people still liked her. But I feel like is this a movie your daughter would like? Is she up to like Mean Girls level of movies?
No, we're not there yet. She can't, as I mentioned in text last night, she kept creeping in. She's never seen she's seen some parts of Les Mis, and there's a lot of parts I just don't want her to see. I mean, I don't want her to see the teeth pulling. I don't really want her to see Master of the House. And I'm trying to figure out, to get her to go to
Merlin,
bed at
I'm a
9:30
grown-ass man, and I watched Master of the House, and I don't know what the fuck was going on.
is horrifying.
What is happening?
Lots of...
What is that house? I literally don't understand what I watched.
Like when they're filling out government forms, this is a place that does what? I think it's an inn. It's a kind of inn.
It is an inn that is it's basically a whorehouse masquerading as an inn, and that is how he rips people off in the novel, at least I believe.
They get drunk and he steals stuff and he makes sausage out of things.
Yeah, and then he blackmails people because it's like, oh, you touched the dirty Santa, and yeah, and
What?
Wait, you don't remember? That's a key plot in the movie. They bring the Santa in on the street and he gives like lap dances.
Oh my goodness. I think I might have blacked out.
I'm really surprised that Max didn't blatantly hate this. Seriously,
Okay.
did you make it through to the
I
end?
watched every minute of the movie. I was really
Wow.
interested in it.
I did not expect that.
So here's what I'm going to say about it. I don't think it was good. I don't recommend that people watch this. But I admire movies. You know, I think Merlin made the comparison to Watchmen, which I think is very, very apt. And I like movies that I really like when people have a vision and they go with it, because the easy automatic thing to do in Hollywood at that scale with that kind of talent is to make the bland paste of a movie that everyone does, that is sort of familiar and you understand its contours and it soothes you every step of the way, going, you know where we are in the story, here's what comes next, here's what comes next, here's what you're looking at. And there's a kind of, I don't know, I like the bravery and the audacity of like doing something different with the form, especially in a mainstream, big budget, like AAA film like this. And so I like it. It's hard for me to say like, well, this was like shit, because I feel like at least they tried something. Like at least there was some vision and they saw it through to its logical conclusion. And I don't think it was good, but I like that it exists. And, I actually think there were some moments in this that were genuinely really arresting. So the little there's one shot that I absolutely just like fell out of my chair, was the tracking shot of the kid on the back of the cart where he's singing, and I was like, that is such a fucking moment. Like, God, it was just beautifully shot and lays out the whole scene of what's going on. Like, it was just an incredible movie moment. It was worth the whole movie for some of those little moments.
Are we getting like feedback that Max is too mean and now he's being really nice about this really, really bad movie? Like, there's nothing special about how this is shot. Like, Tom Hooper, like,
what are you talking about?
It's not,
Have you ever no movie is shot like it was fucking crazy, Alex. There was shaky cam. There was shaky cam, and it was verite, but then they did crazy cuts when Borat was singing. It was a nuts movie. Nothing made any sense. There's nothing is shot like this. It was like it went from shaky cam to like on a track. It was crazy.
I feel like maybe I've just seen too many movies that have been adapted to musicals, because this is that's my problem. Nothing feels special about this movie in the way it is shot.
I've personally never seen anything shot like this.
Really?
I thought there were lots of little bits about it that were very distinctive, and knowing very, very little as I do about how the segmentation of work on a cinema team goes, I mean, you got to definitely give some points to the director, but I just want to say the visual team did a really nice job on this. Like, even some of the stuff of like, she's here, but she's, in the background. And like, there's all kinds of nice little touches like that. And I imagine it was probably not as difficult to make as the movie The Revenant, but things like going into the sewers and stuff like that, I thought some of those shots were great. Here's okay. So I want to just get this out of the way. I really like this movie. It's not a good movie, but I really like this movie, and I do think it is a lot. This whole musical is a lot like Doctor Who, but like the whole way that this gets interpreted is very Doctor Who. This is very fan servicey, maybe not successfully, but they want you to feel the feels, and I think it does a good job of that. If you're open to feeling the feels, I think this movie's got that. It's not a nuanced piece of work about humanity. But by the time they get to the end and Wolverine's sighing in the chair and then the flags come out, no, it's heaven. Like, that gets me. I watched that 3 times last night.
No, I agree.
It's totally emotional garbage, but I fucking love it.
It
And I
is.
think it works on that level.
No, I completely agree. It's like emotional junk food. I told you guys, I watched it twice in 24 hours and cried like 4 times.
When he, you know what got me is when he's moving, when he's on the run, but you see that wherever he goes, he packs those candlesticks with him.
Yeah.
What a nice little touch. Did they?
That's a nice
did
touch.
they invent that for the movie?
Yeah.
That's really nice.
I mean,
so
not the bit
just
where
to
he
just,
steals them,
I
but,
won't
yeah.
particularly care, Max, but the priest, the guy who plays the priest, is the guy who I believe originated the role on stage in English. Who's like, I think, wouldn't you say Colin Wilkinson's like still like the most famous Valjean, Alex?
Yeah, I think he was the 10th anniversary when it
but
came back to West
he was in the.
End.
I think
Really?
pretty sure. Well, I'm pretty sure he was in the '85 production.
Oh, you are correct. Yes.
So that is a lot of people's. That is the canonical Valjean to a lot of people who grew up listening to the musicals. Very different style than Wolverine. Very different style. Man, he does the canonical Bring Him Home.
Yeah, it's almost like they wanted to, like you said, all of the versions are really operatic, and I don't understand. Like, length was clearly not an issue with this. They added scenes.
Yeah, length it's got.
Yeah, why? I understand with Russell Crowe they needed to, sort of handicap his role in a way that is it's not as bad as people say, but I just. Hugh Jackman could handle it, I think, and it just feels stilted and I don't know.
Well, and like here's one that the fans bring up that I hadn't thought about very much until I listened to other versions, which is this is such a dumb small nerd point, but when you hear it on stage, something that's very distinctive about the singing style and the arrangements are the way notes are really drawn out and carried out and sometimes cross over, and it becomes, bring him home, and like just these very, very long, like you can just feel the temperature in the room change, or like on something like On My Own, right? There's these songs that have these, and in this, a lot of people really hate the fact that those get cut so short to make it more like conversational. And again, like I don't want to make Max watch videos all night, but I keep coming back to that 25th anniversary performance of One Day More. It's my favorite one, but also it's got to be the biggest one. You get the feeling of what it would be like to be in a room with 250 people performing something at the same time. And by the time they get to the end and the camera pulls back, I get shivers every single time I watch it because of the hugeness of that sound. Just the human voice at that scale is so overwhelming. They get near that at a few points, but it never feels like more than an octet of performing happening at a time. It doesn't have that hugeness, like that overwhelmingness. And while that might work for small scale humanity of, headshots of Eddie Redmayne, but it doesn't give you the hugeness of really hearing the people sing.
Well, what are we doing here? Are we doing Tim Burton Batman, where it's sort of this like theatrical performative caricature where it's all about the story truth of like we're gonna have this artifice to tell you emotionally what it was like, or are we doing Christopher Nolan Batman where it's like the gritty reality and it's like the happening truth of like, no, this is how it is. And this movie is trying to do both, right? It's like the crazy, it's like the crazy Doctor Who musicality meets the we can see the individual flecks of diarrhea on Hugh Jackman's face when he's crawling through the sewer.
I think I just realized what bothers me most about how it's shot is because the so many of the lyrics are just kind of cut short, and all of the cuts in the film are they're what you expect.
It's like a music video.
Yeah, the only thing which is why I love Anne Hathaway's rendition so much is because
Wait, you do?
Yes, I love it.
Do people regard that as good?
It is different.
When she was singing, I literally was like, "Calm down, please."
I think it's stunning. It's not the way it should be sung. It's usually very stately, and part of what makes the famous performances of this are famous because there's a huge amount of composure to the singer. When you say, Alex, I mean, it's the fact that they're still holding it together amidst this lyric that is obviously about a life that's fallen apart and nothing can be done now. But and I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't want to see every performance done like that, but I think it's fucking amazing.
Well, and I have seen performances. Oh God, I don't remember where it was. It was somewhere in Chicago where it was a slightly it was kind of a truncated version of this, and it was sung like the full like emotion of it, and it wasn't a West End version. It felt incredibly powerful and sad and upsetting. Like and like Max said, this movie tries to have it both ways. Like you see her being just oh God when she's being assaulted by that the sailor guy, and that's not how the other half of the film feels. Like the like bloodiness, like the people get shot and there's no blood, but then you see literal blood just like flowing through the streets, and it's like what are you trying to do here? What's happening?
Yeah, you're right. Like that's, you guys are both really hitting on something that like it's having trouble deciding which what's your phrase, Max? The story truth? Was that the phrase?
Mm-hmm.
Like which story truth are we telling, and at what level, what scale are we going to tell this story? And I think you end up getting a little bit of storytelling seasickness with those changes, because you're sort of like, oh, so now it's suddenly very real. Well, just a minute ago, his parole papers were flying around like butterflies. And like now, that it is really disorienting in that way.
I was making fun of the Anne Hathaway song and how just fucking unhinged and weird and inhuman I felt that performance was in the writer's room. And Julia was like, and I was like, this is not how human beings act. Like, it was a fundamentally like inhuman, like she should be this sympathetic character, and the performance was so over the top and so schmaltzy that it actually robbed the character of like any sort of empathy. You could just like, I can't buy this. This is not how humans behave.
It becomes pathetic.
Yeah, it's like, please tone it down. Like there has to be some humanity here for me to relate to, beyond this like caricature. And Julia said to me, she's like, oh, you've clearly never hung out like at a cast party of like theater people, because people they do act like that. And I was like, yeah, but fucking theater people, and they're the worst class of society. I mean, these people,
they're gonna be the first to go.
These people should be
under Max's regime.
These people should be rounded up.
The Doctor Who fans and the theater people.
These people should be rounded up and put in camps. And they
that's
can
the
all
thing about
snot
Batman,
cry
I'm pretty
about
sure
it.
Joel Schumacher.
Yeah.
Joel Schumacher's a Jew, pretty sure.
The worst birthday I've ever had was when
An essay by Alex Cox.
I was really, really great at we were at PAX, a video game convention, and I had kept my birthday relatively secret. But then one of the our writers found out, and then of course told all of our improv performers. And then I'm like handling all of these theater kids backstage, and they're singing like 10 different versions of Happy Birthday at once, and like they're trying to lift me up and like put me in a chair, because half of them are Jewish, and they're like, you're half Jewish, and it was, oh God, it was oh, what a nightmare. But then Max got me French fries. So
wait, can you say what my birthday surprise was, which was excellent?
It was very good. So we do this thing called Cards Live, which is Cards Against Humanity live. What a great description! Where improv actors perform the cards, and so Max surprised me by getting the entire audience McDonald's French fries.
Everyone in the audience got a small McDonald's French fries for Alex's birthday.
It was delightful.
You're so thoughtful.
Mm-hmm. And then I ate them through the show, and it was great.
They were pretty soggy, and most of the audience did not want them. And Alex and I were like, "Good for us, more for us."
I'll have it.
I found that
I will take your salty, soggy boys any day. These fries have been through a real Les Mis of moisture.
Merlin, I know that you have a lot of opinions about McDonald's, and I'm wondering, I know we share the opinion that the best time to go is to a corporate McDonald's at lunchtime or dinner time.
Yeah, when it's busy.
However, if you don't have that option, my opinion is to get your French fries and then wait like an hour and put them in the fridge and then eat them cold. Have you ever done this?
What? I've never tried that. Now I really want to.
It's really great.
Oh my God, Max! Did I see that you tried? Did you try the new chicken thing from KFC?
Oh, the folding abomination.
Yeah,
one
of my favorite DC characters.
Yeah, I ate it. I ate it before the eyes of God and men. I
Wash it
reached
down with a
into the
kombucha.
heavens themselves and slapped God in the face by eating this chicken taco shell. It was
I made your creature into bread.
it was fine. I don't know. It was fine.
Yeah, I get real sleepy after I eat KFC, so I want to get like half. I want to get one and literally throw away half while I'm still in the store.
It was fine.
I really want to try it though.
You know what it was? It was a chicken sandwich folded in on itself with no bun. Like, it's not that special. All it was it's a crispy chicken, and then there's like lettuce and cheese and tomato on the inside. That's great.
Ain't-
That's a
ain't no
chicken
double down.
That's a chicken sandwich. That's a great food that we all know and love.
But Alex, I want to try that. And I really want to. I'm going to try that now. I've been trying to eat less horrible things in the afternoon for years now, and it's hard because sometimes that's just the thing that I want. I'm tempted to go back on the Atkins. I know it's not fashionable, but I feel so much better when I just eat shit tons of protein. And I'm not talking about paleo. I'm not talking about eating like, cultured elk. I'm talking about just eating fucking bacon all day, and I feel so much better.
I have this really great diet where I don't eat anything throughout the day except I drink 2 cans of Diet Coke and then have a shit ton of food at night and then just
Oh, the sumo diet.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Eat a big meal right before you go to bed. Hi. We should probably start wrapping up. I have so much more to say about this, but I don't want to monopolize it. If one of our listeners out there, let's say, obviously you could go and watch this movie. It's an excellent, not very good movie that's very good. What, Alex, if you were going to point people in the Les Mis direction, where would you point people apart from this movie?
The 25th anniversary concert.
Done.
For
Totally
sure.
agreed.
Yeah.
And that one's really got the feels. That's got, like I said to you, it's got the, it's like if they told Stephen Moffat to make the musicaliest musical theater moment of all time. Because they bring out 4 Valjeans to sing Bring Him Home. They bring out like this whole like historical cast to sing One Day More. And then they bring out kids to sing Do You Hear the People Sing? It is available on iTunes. You can also listen to it. There is so much fucking Les Mis on iTunes, music-wise. You can go and stream many different things from Les Mis. I would, if you're a One Day More person like me, go back and listen to what's called Les Misérables, l'Intégrale, and go listen to the track called Demain or Tomorrow, and that's the original 1980 version of One Day More in French, which is pretty interesting to hear. But you can also buy the 25th anniversary concert, which is very well done, and most importantly, has excellent metadata. It's very easy to get straight to a song, unlike the film Les Misérables. Totally agree. 25th. Boom. What about you, Max? If you wanted to get people started in the moisture-soaked world of Marxism that is known as Les Mis, where would you point people?
I recommend filling your pockets with stones and walking into the ocean.
Challenge. Challenge for next week falls to me.
Yes, it does.
Do you want to eat something, read something, make something, or potentially change something? Votes, please.
I want to do the thing that makes Max do Todoist or make something inconvenient.
Your challenge this week is to get the app Todoist.
Yay!
Subscribe to the premium service for like $25 a year.
Yay!
And I want you to
Why
go
is this
to a
happening to me?
website.
Why?
Yay! Sorry, continue,
Would you
Merlin.
rather eat something?
No.
That'll teach you to be strong. You can go to a website called todotemplates.com. It'll be in show notes. You can go there and download a template. You click it, and it pushes it into your app, and you now have all kinds of different things you can do. It involves a lot of
I'm
manly
gonna fucking
things.
make a barricade in the street and wave an OmniFocus flag through. You're gonna have to drag me.
Listen,
Okay, I know you're gonna come in with cannons and blast it away, but I'm making my stand.
That's right. You're going to flag your task. Wave the red flag. Red, the color of my task.
This is due by Friday with. This is due by Friday.
I'm having some chips. Can you hear that? Is that going through on the mic?
Yeah, it's great. Okay. This is due by Friday with Merlin Mann, Alex. No, that's not what we do. This is